welcome back to 6 and 6, where we cover 6 stories from around the world in 6 minutes or less. With that said, start your timer. We begin today in South America, where an infamous drug lord has been able to return to his home country of Colombia after 20 years in an American jail. From BBC, quote, Fabio Ochoa Vesquez, now 67 years old, was deported by the U.S. government and landed in Bogota on Monday a free man. Ochoa was one of the founding members of the notorious cartel and had been a senior lieutenant to the infamous drug lord Pablo Escobar. The Medellin cartel dominated the cocaine trade and waged a violent campaign against the Colombian state before Escobar was killed in 1993, end quote. He's facing no charges from the Colombian government and will be able to return to his family without any impediment. Across the Atlantic in Africa, we go to the Sudanese government that has recently pulled out of the International Food Security Phase classification before a report that they were going to release that would likely state the country is facing further famine. From Reuters, quote, Alex DeWall, executive director of the World Peace Foundation at Tufts University Fletcher School, called Sudan's move to stop coordinating with the IPC both pathetic and tragic. Quote, it's part of a long history of the government of Sudan denying famine going back more than 40 years, said Wall, a leading specialist on famine. Quote, wherever there's a famine in Sudan, they consider it an affront to their sovereignty, and they're more concerned about their pride and their control than they are over the lives of their citizens, end quote. Next, we look to Haiti, where another act of gang violence has made headlines this week. From BBC, quote, at least 3 people died when an armed man in Haiti opened fire at a journalist, policeman, and medical staff during a brief announcing that the reopening of the country's largest public hospital was happening. 2 journalists and a police officer were reportedly shot dead, while others were wounded in Tuesday's attack in the General Hospital in the capital of Port-au-Prince. Next, we look to Afghanistan, where a recent airstrike that was organized in Pakistan has angered the Taliban government of the nation. From Reuters, quote, 6 people were also injured in the bombing at 4 locations in Afghanistan. Deputy spokesman Humdal Fitra, sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name, said on Wednesday. Pakistani government and military officials did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Afghanistan's Foreign Office said it had summoned Pakistan's head of mission in Kabul to deliver a formal protest note to Islamabad on the bombing by Pakistani military aircraft, warning the diplomat of consequences of such actions, end quote. The relationship between the two nations continues to be tense and shows no signs of resetting. We next journey south to Australia, where the south of the country is facing high temperatures, dry winds, and a surge of fires. From BBC, communities around the Grumptions in Victoria have been evacuated amid warnings from authorities that conditions there in the days ahead could be the worst since Australia's most severe fire season on record. The so-called Black Summer of 2019 to 2020, the bushfires have already burnt over 41,000 hectares, around 101,000 acres, of land in the past week. However, there have been no deaths or loss of property. Throughout Victoria, temperatures are expected to reach 40 degrees Celsius, 104 degrees Fahrenheit, and be accompanied by strong, dry winds, while parts of South Australia and New South Wales could also face bushfire conditions on Thursday into Friday. We finish up today in Europe, where the Serbian Republic is facing dissension within its government ranks by some who are trying to block the nation's ascension to the EU. From Reuters, quote, lawmakers in Bosnia's Serb Republic regional parliament ordered Serb representatives in state institutions on Wednesday to block decision-making and law changes needed for the Balkan countries' integration into the European Union. The regional parliament announced the action in an emergency session called to discuss the response of the trial of the region's leader, Milorad Dodik. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name again, sir. A Serb separatist being prosecuted in Bosnia's state court for defying decisions of the international peace envoy Christian Schmidt. Under the Dayton Treaty that ended the ethnic war in the 1990s, Bosnia was split into two autonomous regions, the Serb Republic and a federation dominated by Krauts and Bosakans. End quote. And if you want to read any of the articles further to get more context, to see possible related articles as well, all the links will be in the description below that like and subscribe button. Also down there, you can find the link to the podcast on Spotify, Pocket Cast, Podfine, and the link to the Twitter handle at Your Daily Flip, where I post a Twitter tirade most Tuesdays and Thursdays at the same time as this. And if you want to come back for the main podcast, it comes out on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. It's U.S.-related news for the most part, and it's 30 minutes, a little bit longer, more in depth. But thank you for joining me for this episode of 6 and 6. And with all that said, there's only one more thing to say. Stay safe, don't die.